Terence McKenna famously said that culture is not your friend, and I found this to be true. In my work as a coach and a counselor, I've interacted in these really intimate conversations with hundreds of people where we discuss insecurities and fears and desires and longings. And even prior to that, I had this fundraising job, which was actually not dissimilar in that I would interact face to face with tens upon tens of thousands of people in the Toronto area. And as a result of all of this one-on-one work, as a result of interacting with so many human beings, I have come into an understanding of how our actual culture operates. I've come to an understanding of what we consider to be our own private experience and what we consider to be belief systems that we innocently think we've come to all on our own. We think these are like our own thoughts. And in reality, most of the time, it's just in the water. And part of what's in the water, part of these held belief systems, are the belief that we uniquely think this, that we think this and nobody else does, that we are alone in these different types of experience. And so it's been my great joy and pleasure over the last few years, often in these YouTube videos, to point out these little aspects of our culture, these things that we say to ourselves without knowing that these are just things to say to ourselves. This thing about our culture is that there's one way in which it's good, where it has the center of gravity and it pulls every human being up to it. Think in terms of growth and maturity, love, tolerance, education, intelligence. Like in every one of these areas of growth, culture has its center of gravity, where most people reside. And if anybody's below that center of gravity, then they are pulled up to it, which is good. But then, of course, the opposite is also the case, that when you move beyond culture's center of gravity, again, in terms of understanding, intelligence, wisdom, love, maturity, any of these different ways that a person can develop, then culture starts doing the opposite thing. It starts pulling you backward. It starts telling you that you're wrong, and it's throwing stones in the gearbox. It's making things difficult for you. So that's a major thrust of the work here in this channel, and a huge one in what we're going to get into today, because we're about to explore an aspect of what our culture tells us. We're going to explore a false dichotomy that was created by our culture that makes life needlessly difficult and needlessly confusing. And I'm so sincerely excited to share it with you. And so when I say this to you, I want you to know this is not just YouTube talk. When I say that you've stumbled across something really important, you, through fortuitous happenstance, have stumbled across a very important lesson that we're about to get into, where when you come out of this, you will no longer be caught in this cultural trap that nobody talks about. And you know, if anybody does talk about it, I've never heard it. I've never heard anybody talk about this. We're going to straighten it up so that this false dichotomy, and I'll explain exactly what I mean by that, can be dissolved and integrated so that you can move forward and just be better. Be better. Life can get better in ways that you will soon see. So we are then therefore talking about the false dichotomy of play and work. We are here today to talk about play and to talk about work. Now, if we've never met before, my name is Brent. Good to meet you. I'm a coach and I'm a counselor. I help people in one-on-one sessions to come out of chaos and into order, out of powerlessness into empowerment, and out of stagnation and into flow. There's a link in the description below where I tell you all about that and how I do it and how you can benefit from it and whether or not this is appropriate for you. Click the link below to find out all about that. And while we are clicking on things, be so kind as to hit like and to subscribe to this channel. Very good. Work and play. Work and play. Work and play. Play and work. Let's begin here. Boot up the software yourself. What's play? What is it? What's work? What is it? Are they opposites? As far as I can tell, they're not, but our culture has positioned them as opposites. Notice what these words mean to you, and notice how they feel to you. So pay attention to how your physiology, your body, your breath, your posture, your nervous system, how they react to play. Notice how they react to the word work. What do they mean in terms of value? So let's just say I said, okay, I'm going to work for you. Give me $5 and I'm going to work for you. I'm going to do some work for you. Okay? Now let's try this out. Give me $5 and I'm going to go play. Feels a little bit like a waste of money, doesn't it? Right? If you're like most people. I am also like most people. If I were to change the wording slightly, let's just say, okay, give me $5, I'm going to get to work for you. Give me $5, I'm going to get to play. I'm going to play for you, like for the purpose of creating value for you. Just notice how that feels. Which is worth more money. Now try this out. How do you feel about people who are paid to work? So think about hard workers. Who's somebody that you know is a hard worker and who gets paid for their hard work? Okay. Think about how it feels when somebody works hard and doesn't get paid. That feels a little bit like unfairness, right? If somebody works hard and they get paid for their hard work, we think that is fair. That is just. We think, good, that person's getting paid for their work. And if they work hard and they don't get paid, we say that is unfair. Now try this out. Somebody who plays all day and they get paid for that. How do you feel about that? Often we think, well, that's unfair. We think that's unfair. We think, oh, that's the way in which the world is unfair. The world is so good to some people and so unfair to other people, we think. We think of them as having an unfair advantage. And we also think in terms of privilege. This person is privileged. Think of a career hockey player. You could, of course, make an argument that a career hockey player, baseball player, any sports player works really hard. And that's true to an extent. But I think we would all agree, probably, that what they're really doing is playing. They're playing a game, and they're getting to play a game. And they're getting paid a lot of money to play a game. And even if we watch these games, even if we watch them get played, we think to ourselves, oh, you lucky bastard. You know, how lucky for them that they have this advantage of, say, their genetics or athletic ability or work ethic, you know, that they're able to get paid to play their favorite game. We feel similarly around actors, where there's something similar at play, where like if an actor, like most actors, if you listen to them get interviewed, they'll describe their jobs as hard work. And there's reason to believe that it is. You got to practice your lines. You got to get good at it. You have to endure some difficult conditions, and you have to schmooze in Hollywood, et cetera, et cetera. Like all of that is there. But ultimately, still, what are you doing? You're playing pretend. You're playing pretend. You're playing dress up. You're doing what we did as kids. As kids, we played pretend. And now these adults are getting paid to do it. And again, getting paid a lot of money. Even if they were just getting paid a living wage, let's just say like a solid, like imagine you're a big Hollywood star actors, but imagine for a movie they get paid like, oh, you know, call it 200 grand maybe, or 150 grand USD. So like, you know, a good, solid, livable, moderately livable salary. We would still think, oh, you lucky bastard, you're getting paid to play as opposed to getting paid to work. Our culture says that work is what you endure for money, for your reward, and play doesn't produce anything. Now, I will be using the words play and pretend somewhat interchangeably in our discussion here. They mean slightly different things, and so you'll depend on the context for what I mean. But when we say we're playing, we're just out playing, or when we say we're playing pretend, subconsciously, what does that signal to you? Does it signal to you that something important is happening? Probably not. Does it signal to you that something real is taking place? Like something real is taking place. Probably not. Like some kids just playing pretend over there. Is something real happening? Not really, no. Is something valuable taking place when somebody is in a state of play? Like real value, real value. Like I'm going to give you $100 for this, or you're going to give me $100 for this. Not really. We don't think in those terms. Culturally, we say, oh, no, value is when people work. I value people's work. When people work, that's when they get paid, not when they play. Is there enjoyment in work? Is there enjoyment in play? So check this out. One way of conceptualizing the difference between work and play is enjoyment. What happens when you have work to do, but you enjoy it? You enjoy it. And you're not trying to convince yourself of it. You're not talking yourself into it. You're not in denial about it. It's not just like positive thinking. Let's just say you have work and you just really enjoy it. You really enjoy it. You really like it. You could almost say, couldn't you, that it's not really work anymore. It's play. And so now we're getting to the heart of the false dichotomy between work and play. Are they really separate things? So take a minute now to remember when you played as a kid. Do you have any memories of this? Playing a sport, playing hockey, road hockey, playing pretend, playing dress up. My friends and I had a game called Prime Ministers, Policemen, and Punks, or PPP as we called it. And there were only 3 of us, so there's no need for plural, but one of us would be the Prime Minister, which was me, because that's what I wanted to be as a kid. My brother would play the punk or the bad guy, the robber, and my friend Scott, he would play the police officer, and we would enact different situations where one was getting caught by the other. I want you to really think about this. I really want you to visit these moments when you're in play, because I'm going to be making a very important point with this. What was happening? Was it real or not? Because when I go into these memories, there was something very vital happening, very real, very valid. So I'll give you an example of what I mean. So playing road hockey, right? Is that a real game of hockey versus, say, the NHL? And of course, upon close inspection, there's no difference at all. The Olympics came and went just recently, and it's funny how if nobody watched the Olympics, you could ask yourself, do the Olympics matter? And the answer is, of course not. Of course not. They don't matter if nobody's watching. What validates something, right? What makes something real is when people bear witness. The more witnessing awareness is brought to something, the more real it becomes. Not because of anything about itself at all. It's just the amount of eyeballs. It's just the metric amount of consciousness that pours into it. That's what makes it real. Think about the UFC. And then what happens is things like the UFC, things like the NHL or the NBA, right? They have this incredibly magnetic quality because the more attention goes on it, the more attention it pulls in. I'm not really a sports watching guy, really, not really. But I will tell you this, when Team Canada played against Team America in the USA, in the men's hockey Olympics, here we go again. Olympics, men's hockey. You know what I'm talking about. There was an incredibly pulley-inny factor about it. And there were so many people paying attention that whatever happened as a result was real. Of course, Canada lost that match, so it doesn't really matter. But you can bet your ass, if Canada had won, I would be telling you about how real and how important it was. When you watch the Olympics too, you'll notice how there are all sorts of other games like curling, say, or long jump or high jump, right? How did that start? I have no idea where long jump came from, but I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this, here's how long jump started. Without ever looking into the history of it, here's how it started. Some person somewhere, probably a dude, said, hey, I bet I can jump further than you. And that person said, no way, I can jump further than you. And then they had to jump off and somebody won. And then the loser went home and practiced jumping further, was able to jump further, asked for a rematch, and then jumped further. And then they kept practicing and going at it, and more competitors flocked to it, that it started to matter. And people started to watch. And people started to have a stake in who won. And that's how these things are born. Now, how did it begin in the very beginning? When one person was jumping and another person was jumping, what was happening? That was play. It was competition, but it was play. Notice how it's the repetition and the bringing in of awareness, the bearing of witness on this thing that legitimizes it, that makes it real. Now, what happens when we set it up in a stadium and people pay to come watch? Now money's involved. Why? Because play is value. Play creates value. Now let's put sports to the side. Art. This almost goes without saying. Some kids pick up guitar, bass, drum, microphone, form a band. They're making music. They're just making shit up. They're just making shit up. But when a handful of people decide that they like it and decide that they want to bear witness to it, and they want to bear witness enough to it that they're willing to pay $5, value is created. More people come, more people pay, and now something real is being made. Now we have Nirvana, now we have Deftones, now we have the Rolling Stones, now we have Jay-Z, we have Kanye. I'm not big into rap, but I know that there are really big rap names out there. Beethoven, Mozart. All of this stuff was just made up by somebody somewhere. Musicians will say this, I just made this song up. And somebody says, I like it. I want to hear it. I'll pay you $5. Now, by contrast, have you ever listened to a song that was made by somebody who tried really hard and was working really hard? Somebody works really hard on their music. What you will often find is an inverse relationship between work and effort and the quality of a song. There's no real way to articulate what makes a song good or bad. You could make 5, 10, or 20 rules about what makes a song good, as opposed to a bad one. And then you'll find somebody goes right ahead and breaks all 20 of those rules, does exactly the opposite, and still it's an infectious song that you can't stop listening to. You can have people who are career musicians, and then you'll have some kid make the stupidest, dumbest little song, and you just can't get it out of your head. You know what I mean? Notice the difference between intense work and intense play. Where when you're working really, really, really hard, you're struggling, you're toiling, you're exhausting yourself, you're exerting yourself, versus playing really intensely, like a basketball player, like a musician in the middle of a very intense performance, like a scientist, deep in flow, with their discovery, with their work that they're on. My point here is that both work and play have intensity about them. But in the case of work, it's something that you have to make yourself do. So practically speaking, what does this say about your life? How can you take this information? Well, you can plug this right into your life, right in. Ask yourself a handful of questions. In what ways do I interface with life from obligation? So in other words, like, just be honest for a minute. Where in your life has life become work? Has your life in general become work? Are there aspects of your life that are just obligatory, completely bereft of play? Let me ask you now, how could you insert play into it? Into your relationship, into your sex, into your job, into your business, into parenthood? How can you convert these things from toil into play? Here's another question. Where in your life do you disallow play? Because again, culturally, we have a prejudice against play and we equate it with laziness, wasting of time. Or we assume that value doesn't come from play. Like, nobody would pay me just to play around with this. People pay me to work for them. So where psychologically, mentally, where do you disallow play? Where have you just written play off as something that is just like a waste of time? What bias or prejudice do you have against play? Now, you might be asking, well, I don't even know how to convert these things into play. Well, if you're doing something that cannot be converted into play, that would probably be some sort of job that you have that you just hate. You just don't like it. You have no power, no influence. You're not doing anything you like. Well, it might be time to make plans to find some new work. Or if you have enough influence over what you do, how you're spending your time, then you can just play with this question, journal it, spend time with it, contemplate it, contemplate it. How can I convert this into play? Now, there's a final piece here where the biggest problem that many of us in our culture may have against play is that we say, well, at the end of the day, it's just pretend and it's not truth. And I want to be aligned with truth. I don't want to just have my head in the clouds. I don't want to be all airy-fairy about it. I want cold, hard truth. So there's a distinction that we can make then to answer this. There's a distinction that we make between pretending and falsehood. Stay with me on this. When we're pretending, we're actually in truth. And the reason why is because when we pretend, we're doing so intentionally. And there's always a part of us that's locked in on the truth of something. So here's an example. So returning to this hockey thing, playing road hockey. You know, hockey starts with a few people playing, a few people looking on, and then more people come, and there's more players, and then sponsors, and then more money comes in, and then bigger stadiums, and then commercial time, and then hockey grows and grows until you have the NHL. When we're playing pretend, the way we are in the NHL, there's a part of us that always knows that this is nothing. It's nothing. And notice this fine paradoxical nature of how, on one hand, it's real. Like NHL is real. The puck, the hockey game, the score, the team that wins, the team that loses, the history, the lore. It's real, and it's not real. It's kind of like real the way the Lord of the Rings is real, or Star Trek, or Star Wars. It's real in that it's a legitimate creation. It's pretend. It's pretend. But it's not false. It's pretend. It's real, and it's immersive, and we go in it, and we can enter deeply into it, even though it's just pretend. But this applies to everything. It applies to our governments. It applies to the police. It applies to the courts. It applies to science. It applies to schools. It applies to countries. Like, is there any such thing as America? Is there any such thing as Canada? Well, yes and no. We're all pretending that there's some such thing as Canada. We're all pretending that there is some such thing as America. It's just play. Isn't it amazing? It's just play. And in that way, it's real. And it's not real with an asterisk. It's like, it's actually real, despite the fact that it's pretend. And it's all pretend. It's all pretend. So here you are, you're about to pretend. Like, even this stuff that I'm making for you here, same thing, same principle. I just made some shit up for you. But it's still real. It's real. So you're about to pretend, right? You're about to make something. You're about to make a song. You're about to start a company. You're about to make a statement, a philosophical statement. You're going to start I already did a company. You're going to start something, make something, do something, right? And in your head, you doubt because like, oh, it's just me. I'm just saying something. I'm just doing something. It's not real. It's not real. It's not legitimate. Imposter syndrome. I'm such an imposter. I'm a fraud, right? You can see how that just melts all of that away. And so then this brings our discussion about trust into the mix. Are you willing to trust in the value of your play, in the value of your pretend? Especially compared to the value of your work. See, when we see people who work hard out there, we go, good for you. We hold them up as high examples. Like we tell our children to be like them. Yeah, you should work hard. Work hard. Work hard. Right? It's just like a nice thing to say. But nobody wants to actually do it. It's completely obligatory. It's heavy. It's dead. Dull energy. Check out the links in the description below. Please hit like on the video. Consider subscribing. We're going so much further with this. And I'll end on this note. This is the most important piece. Work and play are not separate. It's a false dichotomy. That's culture's lie. Because when you see them as separate things, then you're liable to go into work because, like that's what makes money and play is a waste of time. But if you think they're separate, then your play will be a waste of time because you're doing play instead of work, which you see as productivity and value creation. Do you see? So my point is not that you should don't work and do play. My point is that they're not separate. And by integrating these two into one in the way that we've been doing in this video, then your play has teeth. Your play has productive value, and your greatest gifts can be offered. This is the most practical implication of what we're saying.